Welcome back to the Everything is Black and White podcast. It's time for the Milner and Musgrove show. Sam Milner has returned to the podcast after a few weeks off. It probably isn't even that long. It seems like a lifetime ago, though, Sam. I'm just very happy to have you back. You good? You well?
You're very kind. I've been busy. I've been poorly. So it's not a good combination. So I struggled to fit you in last week. I do apologise, but yes, your listeners will be relieved I've had a break from me. So yeah, it's been a bit indifferent, as seems to be the case at the moment. Brilliant against City. Got the monkey off our back against Everton with that fantastic away win, and then it seems like we've gone two steps backwards again against Spurs. So such is the pattern of this season.
Some people might point out the fact that when you disappeared from this show, Newcastle, they did all right. And now
that's it then. Yeah, I'm gone then. Good. Yeah, no problem. If that's what it takes for us to win matches, that'll ding dang do for me.
I'm sure everybody would take that sacrifice, Sam. In today's episode, I'm going to read you the thoughts of some Newcastle United fans. I put a tweet out this morning asking fans to get in touch with their key takeaway from the Spurs draw on Tuesday night. More than 130 of you have responded. Unfortunately, we haven't got that much time in the day to get through every single one of those points, but a lot of them do fall into each other. So I'm just going to read through some of them. I'm going to read them to Sam, and Sam's then going to share his viewpoint on the view of our listeners and viewers. So thank you to everyone who has responded. It is greatly appreciated. And if yours doesn't get read out, don't think it's because I don't appreciate you helping us out with your contributions. It's just simply we don't have the time to read every single one of them out. Right. We're going to start with a tweet from Richie, who says, how always reverting to five at the back is totally baffling. And there's a few people who have raised this. Last night, Fabian Schär was introduced to the game with 3-4 minutes left of it, and Spurs ended up getting an equaliser, and that has raised questions about the substitution and also Howe's tendency, as Richie has written there, to go to five at the back. Thoughts on that, Sam?
Well, last night he did it because he wanted to see the game out. That's sort of why he does it in the main. He has elected with five at the back before, and it doesn't really work. It doesn't look wholly effective. It does sometimes against the so-called quote unquote bigger and better teams, but it's very negative, isn't it? It's not, and I can see why he's trying to do something different, because there has been cases this year where we've sort of been found out somewhat. But it's all been like kind of playing like a mid-table team, which in essence we are this season. So it's not good. I kind of get it. I kind of saw why he did it last night, to try and see out 2-1 with minutes to spare. The defending and the goalkeeping in general, as in the command of area and what I wasn't wholly plussed with. I don't think anyone can be, whether you're doing brilliantly like someone like Malik Thiaw is just as culpable as someone that's coming for criticism like a Dan Burn or whatever. In that moment, Thiaw on the whole has been sensational, of course he has. But yeah, it's very negative, and again we've failed to see out a game. There is definite scarring on that squad there, and Bruno, I don't know how much he can put up with this because he's fuming, and you can tell he's livid with that. He takes responsibility as captain, of course he does, and I thought we really missed him in the first half against Spurs. I'm not sure that was a game to really rest him when we've got Burnley, which is a much more easier assignment on paper, at least at the weekend. Maybe that was the game to rest him ahead of Leverkusen and Sunderland, of course. But yeah, the five at the back thing is his plan B. We always used to have a bugbear with the previous manager that there was no plan B when you could barely tell what plan A was. It's not wholly effective, but I can sort of see why he does it in stoppage time with a couple of minutes to spare, and you're trying to see out a game, but at the moment it's just not working.
Sticking with the defence, a lot of the responses have been about game management, and of course Newcastle United's tendency to let a lead slip away doesn't need repeating, but 11 points this Premier League campaign have been thrown away.
We'd be top.
Still taking the lead. We would indeed. Ray has sent in his response and says that we need to learn how to manage games better when leading late on. Possession needs to be kept a lot better, and we need to kill the game. Too many times this season we've conceded late goals.
Yeah, telling me. Yeah, and a couple of years ago, that season we finished fourth seemed to be the only season where we have, quote unquote, managed the game. We saw Donnarumma do it for City at the weekend to take the sting out of it. Spurs were coming into the game and pressing, really pressing. They made a couple of good positive changes. And, you know, should Ramsdale have maybe felt a twinge in his knee or something like that, just went down to take the sting out of the game. It sounds dirty to say it, but they all do it. Let's not bury our head in the sand. It's commonplace for these sides to do that, and it would have probably been effective. We didn't manage the game. I thought Joelinton should have been hooked long before it even got to that point. He wasn't helping Hall out enough. Kudus exposed Hall too many times in that match. And we've referenced it in the past as well, when Lauren Robert goes walkabouts and leaving Ollie Bernard at the back. That's when you had Gary Speed coming into his own, coming across to help him. I don't think Joelinton was anywhere near that. It was really annoying because it was avoidable. I thought the goal we conceded against Everton was avoidable as well, by the way. So even when things were going well, we're still conceding these goals that are really sort of things that we should be dealing with. And it's a problem because, like you say, 11 points dropped. I can kind of, out of those 11 points, I can sort of get on board with the Arsenal game because they're a very good side and that, you know, they're worthy to be at the top of the table. But the other games were just absolutely pathetic displays. West Ham, Brentford, awful. And last night should have been 3 points. There's no way we should have been letting that slip twice. And how that second goal goes in, I do not know.
Yeah, not a great goal to concede at all. It's interesting you mentioned Joelinton. I would have taken him out of the side yesterday. I don't think it was the game for him. You know,
he's been poor all season.
He has, and a lot of people have actually referenced this when they've got back to me. I've got Carl saying Joelinton can't pass. We've got Nobby saying Joelinton is a liability. He's a passenger. And this goes on for 3 or 4, 5 responses. Are we starting to see the beginning of the end of Joelinton as a name that's one of the first on the team sheet?
Maybe. I think midfield is an area that we need to invest in. Because of his poor form. It doesn't make him a bad player. It's poor form. There's plenty of rumours going around that Willock could be on his way in January, which is about right. He's 6th choice. So yeah, we need to shuffle that pecking order a bit. And we do need someone with a bit more attacking impetus that can carry the ball. It's not clicked for Ramsey yet. I think it will, but there's a severe disconnect between the final third and the rest of the team. Again, Voldemort last night was living off scraps. I thought Murphy was appalling last night, and Alanga was no better when he came on, which has been the story of his Newcastle career so far. Hooray, he got an assist at Everton, but other than that, it's been utterly dire. Terrible. Which goes back, I mean, you'll have to dig out some clips from our debates in the summer about Alanga. You were very pro Alanga. I was dead against him. And I messaged you last night, and I messaged a couple of others. Who was our last decent right winger?
Nobby.
20 years ago.
top quality class. I agree, Murphy
But
didn't
then
have
you go back and think it's been nearly 10 years since Andros Townsend. I mean, yes, we had Matt Ritchie, who I love to bits, but is he someone to spearhead a top four charge? No, he was the right player for that right time. And he was, like I've said in previous podcasts, the most important signing for Newcastle United in the past 10 years. And I will live and die on that. But in terms of top quality, no. And then Andros Townsend, we got him because he couldn't get in at Spurs. No, and then you sort of going back even further, and you think, this is 15 years. How have we not got a good right winger in that time? It's incredibly poor recruitment over the years, not just by the current lot. Other than the Germans, Chow and Voldemort, the recruitment last summer was a mess, and we saw it unravel before our eyes. Not to mention the whole debacle with the chap that doesn't play for us anymore. So yeah, that was the summer that has set a tone, and it was the summer where we should have really kicked on after winning that trophy, getting Champions League again. That was the summer where we should have really kicked on to become potential title challengers, and it's just gone the complete opposite way. We are in such mediocrity at the moment.
Sticking on the topic of the summer, Mickey has written in and says, with a fit Wissa in the team, we would have won that game. We've got a few other people pinning their hopes on a Yoane Wissa return. The Goon of Doom, what a wonderful name, said the hope that Wissa is back for us at the weekend. And a few others have said if Wissa is in that starting 11, then Newcastle United beat Spurs and probably comfortably.
It's a nice thought. You got to get the ball to him first. How are you going to get the ball to him? Because our wingers couldn't find Voldemort, and he's a giant. Murphy's delivery was shocking. Didn't quite click for Barnes last night. He wasn't bad, but it just things weren't happening for him. It wasn't clicking. And without Barnes in the last few weeks, where would we be? My word. Gordon looked sharpish when he came on. Great to see him get a goal, but it was a penalty. That was his first goal since January in the Premier League. Hasn't got an assist since January in the Premier League either. It's not been a good year for him. And again, yeah, Murphy's done great, but he's no world beater, which is what we've always said. And you've got the Alanga thing, which is just embarrassing at this point. You've got to get the ball to him. Yes, it's a nice thought that maybe, and it is exciting at the prospect of maybe you can combine a Wissa and a Voldemort in the same 11. That's exciting, but you're living off a hope from a guy. Yes, well done. He's not going to AFCON. Right decision to show a bit of gumption and not turn your back straight away on the team that's invested heavily in you. After you were pretty thick in the summer and going on strike and then disappearing to the backside of nowhere to play 2 pointless games and are shocked when you pick up a nasty injury. Here we are in December. He signed September, and we are living off hope with Wissa. It's incredibly annoying, and it hasn't helped our cause this season whatsoever. Voldemort, living off scraps, has done magnificently well. So yes, you could very easily say that we would have won that game with Wissa up top. You could very easily say that second goal don't go in with Nick Pope in goal. It's the exact same point. So you got to get the ball to him. There's bigger problems than the focal point at the top. Yes, Voldemort is still learning the league, learning on the job, still a young player, but he has done magnificently well. Wissa needs to hit the ground running or there's trouble.
Lousy has got in touch to say one key takeaway, in his opinion, is context. Other than Arsenal, there aren't teams producing consistent results. Our performances are pretty good, and if we beat Burnley on Saturday, it'll be 10 points from 12.
Yeah, it's been better. It's not a vintage year by any stretch in the Premier League. I think on the whole, it's been pretty poor with everyone turning into Stoke City. Which, by the way, that reminds me, our new set piece coach, is he due his 6-month review yet? I'm not convinced. There's a few really questionable routines going on that are just embarrassing at times, but that sometimes gets swept under the rug. Yeah, look, City result was great. Everton was a surprise because that just doesn't coincide with their form. They should have been on a real high after winning at Old Trafford with 10 men. They were down to 10 men before they got their goal. And then they bounced back last night with a win at the Vitality. Yes, Bournemouth are in a bad spell themselves, but it's still a tricky place to go to get a win. We can't do it. We haven't done it since Steve McLaren. Yeah, it's a real great result for Everton, which was just made our fantastic win. Great performance. Utterly bizarre. But cast your minds back to that Everton game. We went 1-0 up in very quick time. There was sort of 10 minutes before we get that second goal where we sat back and we were shaky. They were coming right back into that game. And were it not for a Jordan Pickford error, which really settled us down at 2-0, you don't know how that game's going to go. So there's still signs of frailties there. And obviously we went on to look like the Newcastle we were, which is when we got our tails up, we go for the juggler and we score 3, 4, 5, whatever, don't we? Which we haven't looked like at all this season until that game. There was a bit of signs against Benfica that we were threatening. But yeah, you could say this, that, and the other. Oh, we weren't expecting to beat City. Maybe we weren't expecting to win at Everton, so it kind of levels things out. Oh, fine, I take that point. But were we expecting to get a defeat at West Ham? Were we expecting to get a defeat at Brentford? Should we have picked up more points away from home? Leeds was a big one. Villa was a big one. Yeah, there's been too many occasions on the other side of that where we've let points slip.
Yep, indeed. The keeper point that you've made is quite interesting because a lot of people have also got in touch, such as Oliver, who says those quick to wish Pope gone should be less vocal. And also, I'm going to chuck in a couple of comments about a new goalkeeper needed. Dog simply says new keeper needed. And we've got Mark saying we must break the bank on a goalkeeper in January.
Getting a top goalkeeper in January is going to be very tough because it's just such that unique, settled position. My stance on this has been consistent for 12, 18 months. If you're going to get a new goalkeeper, you've got to stop effing around with ones that are of an equivalent of what we've already got or what we've had. Ramsdale is no better than Pope. If he was, he'd still be at Arsenal. Trafford was no better than Pope. If he was, City wouldn't have replaced him after 2 weeks. If you're going to get a new goalkeeper, stop mucking around and get a proper goalkeeper. Just go and get Kobel from Dortmund. There's been fleeting interest in there for months. Carsonetti, we did a whole show on goalkeepers in the summer. Carsonetti, Atalanta, Trubin, we saw from Benfica, cracking little goalkeeper that's a good age as well. If you're going to get a goalkeeper, get a goalkeeper. Not something the same as what you've already got. Ramsdale is not the answer, never has been. It was the backup plan. That's why he's only on loan. The deal should not be made permanent, in my opinion. I've never been a huge Ramsdale fan. If he was any good, he'd still be at Arsenal.
Yeah, and there's a load of people in the comments actually saying that. DMNUFC, for example, is saying Ramsdale has had numerous clubs for a reason.
Don't get me wrong, just to expand on the point, because people in the comments will go, yeah, but Pope's been blah, blah, blah. Agree, it was the right time to take Pope out. It was very convenient he got injured, but it was the right time because Pope had been making stupid mistakes. Yes, he's never been good with his feet, but it wasn't too many weeks ago we were all swooning over his new long throws. He's an all round better goalkeeper than Ramsdale. All round. he's just at a bad patch of form, and it was the right decision to take him out. It was, but Ramsdale's no better.
Well, let us know in the comments your thoughts on that. Rob has got in touch to say we have zero creativity up top. We get in loads of good positions and we just butcher it. Murphy as a crosser is unreal, but the rest of his game is poor. Barnes is playing well at the moment, but there's nobody finding him. Bruno is the only baller in a team of athletes.
Best comment so far. Yeah, agree. Barnes' numbers are fantastic, but he can go missing. Murphy has got a good cross on him, but on days where they don't find or where they don't really go, like last night, he just looks like the Jacob Murphy when we first signed him that just looked lost and looked like a championship player. On his going day, he can be absolutely sensational. And in the past 12, 18 months, there have been more going days than non-going days. And he's been brilliant. Love him. But the problem for that area is we want crosses into the box, and we've replaced Almiron, the right winger debate. Should have put a caveat into that point about right wingers other than Miggy's special season. We've got a pace merchant whose crossing isn't really his game. It's playing on the counter, using his pace to get behind defences. Where did his assist come from? Counter attack, and he nearly did that as the same in the first minute as well. But his shot was saved from Pickford. He's not a good crosser of the ball. Never has been. It's not his game. So why have they spent 2 years trying to chase him? I don't know. It's a real poor area of recruitment for me. And they need to start listening to Steve Nixon a bit more, because I don't believe that was a Nixon signing.
Well, I suppose we'll never find that one out. We've got Cashley saying we are currently and have been for a while a soft touch. The ball-busting Esthousery team is gone. We get pushed around too easily now.
I wouldn't say we were pushed around, but the Housery's definitely gone. It was threatening to come back a little bit against Man City. And you saw that at the end with Joelinton causing ructions after the final whistle, and you think, we're back here. We're back in business. This is the in-your-face Newcastle that finished fourth, almost won a cup that season as well, that gets in your faces, are relentless, and the kind of that sort of players and that team that people hate, because that's what you got to be. And there were signs of that against City, and it hasn't really been replicated. And last night, it should have been. It really should have been. Spurs were there for the taking. That game should have been killed off by half time. I thought we really missed Bruno in that first half. Really missed him. I think had he been on the pitch, we might have got a couple of goals. But yeah, it was all a bit. I can see why that point's been made, but I don't think we're being pushed around. But because we're still a big physical side. But yeah, there is definitely a shift in attitude that hasn't been conducive whatsoever.
I agree with that comment more than you do. I think Tuesday night was the ideal opportunity to be nasty, to get in their face when they're down. And as I said on Wednesday with Mark, it was more like Newcastle were there to pick them up and give them a bit of a cuddle and a pat on the back, rather than take advantage of their bad mood, their doomy mood around the Spurs camp. And that is slightly frustrating. But then, like you say, against City, we saw a bit more of the old Newcastle when it does come to the good old Esthousery approach to things. But
it was brilliant.
Yeah, but I guess like a lot of this season, it's just inconsistency running throughout Newcastle United when it comes to performances, goals, whatever. Esthousery, there's just the one thing that is consistent is the inconsistencies. We've got a few comments on Nick Voldemort, and look, I agree with you. I think he's been tremendous, and things haven't really been stacked in his favour, and yet he's come out in the eyes of most smelling of roses. But Stephen and Isaac here have got similar points. Stephen says Voldemort needs to pull his finger out more needs to hold it better and release it. Isaac says rather, Voldemort's hold up play isn't that good. I disagree with
I don't know what games they're watching because they're not Newcastle ones.
I think the issue comes from the fact that more often than not, things don't come off for Voldemort, but he's essentially done the hard work because he traps the ball excellently. He's held it up excellently, in my opinion. It's then down to the midfield of the wingers to run on ahead of him so he can knock off. We saw with a Bruno goal, fantastic touch into Bruno's feet, and the rest is history. I wonder whether they're looking at what Voldemort does, and because 7 times out of 10 he gets tackled after bringing the ball down, they're going, oh, it's not quite working for him. And I agree that it's not quite working for him, but it's not his fault. I think he's done what he needs to do. It's getting the midfield or the wingers, as they did against Everton, to make sure that they're up there supporting him.
Yeah, I agree. And it comes back to a point we discussed the other week about just how important the wingers are. The only thing I would like to see is maybe when he's held it up and passed to a winger or midfielder that, he then turns his man and then puts a bit of a lung-busting run back into the box to get on the other end of it, or have someone to charge from midfield, which we don't always get when you play those three in midfield. If it's not Bruno going forward, then there's no one really there. Sandro kind of lurks there for the second ball, doesn't he? And Joelinton's neither here or there really. That's why I think we do need a bit of a bit more of an attacking influence in that midfield three. But in terms of Altamada, his feet are electric. His feet in tight situations for a man of 6'7" is rare. Oh, it's incredible to see. His older play's good. He's not being pushed off the ball whatsoever. He's a big, strong lad. I think he's doing a lot better than what he should be, given the team's performance at the moment.
Yep, I agree with that. Stephen says 7 points from 9. We're playing a lot better. Beat Burnley at home on Saturday. Then it's looking like something's finally clicked.
No, that's not the game. I mean, if you can't beat Burnley at home, then you're in trouble. I think next week is more of a clue. Can we go to Leverkusen and get something? I think we can. It's not easy. They're like 4th in the Bundesliga. I've watched a couple of their games recently, but some have clashed with ours. So I haven't. I'm going to watch a Newcastle game over the Bundesliga. But they've played Dortmund twice most recently. They lost to them in the league at home, and then they actually beat them in the cup last night. It's a big week for Livramento. Big week for Livramento. He's got to keep Grimaldo quiet. And then you've got the derby, of course, where there's no hiding place, and they're flying, particularly at home. I don't think Burnley at home is where an argument is going to be won and lost, and a balance to see where and how we are playing as a whole is defined by Burnley at home, unless we get turned over, in which case it's a disaster. Burnley at home should be your banker of the season. No disrespect to Burnley or whatever, but they're 1 to 8 favourites to go down. It's a home win, but they're going to come in low block, aren't they? So it's down to us to find a way through. Can we find a way through? We shall see. Be very interesting to see which wingers he goes with those 2 big fixtures following, and the unknown quantity of Wissa as well.
Indeed. It's going to be a very, very interesting week to come for Newcastle United. 3 massive games, starting with Burnley on Saturday. Sam, to sign off then, give me some positivity. I think all the comments there were respectful. I think they were all fair and balanced. But I think it's fair to say as well, the majority were feeling a little bit sorry for themselves. And again, I think that's totally fair and balanced. It does feel a little bit like a defeat, having led twice. And it is very stop-start. I think that's the biggest frustration. You think beating Man City, great. Go to Marseille, should have won. Go to Everton, get an unexpected result there. Spurs on a horrible run of form. Oh my goodness me, last minute equaliser. It feels like we've lost. And what we want is that momentum. And it just hasn't happened yet. So I understand the negative and pessimistic comments. But I want you to give us some positivity.
Yeah, all the comments were, as you say, really good and respectful and whatever. Again, not all we agree with, but that's okay. Jeez, you're allowed to disagree. There is the reintroduction of Wissa, which we're led to believe is on the horizon. Will be exciting, to quote Pardiola, like a new signing, because he is a new signing. We just haven't seen him for 3 months, so that will give everyone a lift. I think fans, players on the pitch, it will give everyone a lift to see the number 9, the Newcastle number 9 on the pitch. These games are winnable as well, so there is still sort of a chance to build that momentum. Marseille was disappointing. I think we've got a good chance at maybe nicking a draw at Leverkusen. I'm really looking forward to going back to Germany, because I love the Bundesliga and German football since going to Dortmund a couple of seasons ago. Last time we were in the Champions League. So and then you got the derby, which is something for everyone to really look forward to and not dread. We've got a good record there. Yes, they've had like in our really bad times, they had a good time of things, but other than that, we can go there hopefully with a bit of confidence after beating Burnley and getting something in Leverkusen. So I think Wissa, to the point, yes, like I say, I maintain we've still got to get the ball to him for him to have an impact, but we do now have that realistic prospect of seeing Wissa and Voldemort on the pitch together, which will play more to Voldemort's strengths, and he will help get the ball up to Wissa as well. So that is something to really look forward to.
Certainly is. It's a nice note to finish on. Cheers, Sam, for popping on and sharing your thoughts to the sponsors we got from our viewers and listeners. Thanks to everyone who got involved. It really is appreciated. Do hit like, do it thumbs up on YouTube, hit subscribe, and get into the comments as well. Leave us a rating and review on the audio-only platform, and remember to click the link in the podcast description box if you want your discount offer on your NORD VPN plan. 1 subscription, 10 devices, and there's no risk with a 30-day money-back guarantee. For myself and Sam, we'll see you guys very soon.